Hello, everybody. Today, I wanted to talk about the Pacific Division in the NHL and what the playoffs could look like. So, there's really only four teams that are really talked about as having a big shot at making the playoffs: the Calgary Flames, the Vegas Golden Knights, the San Jose Sharks, and the Arizona Coyotes. Vancouver's in talks here and there, but it's very little amount of people say that they're going to make it. Um, So I have here the lines for every team in the division of the top four that I talked about. So in Calgary, you have Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan, and Elias Lindholm. That line was amazing last year. I very much expect them to continue that into this year. Second line, you got the Chuck, if he signs in time. He's still on RFA at this time. Backlund and Frolik. It's good second line. Got Milan Lucic, Jankowski, and Sam Bennett. Yet again, it's a pretty good third line. See how Lucic adjusts to being on a new team. And you got Magnifi, Ryan, and Zarnik on the fourth line. It's a good fourth line. So, overall, this is a very good forward group. But it's very similar to what I talked about in my Colorado video, with the Chuck not signing, or not signing in time, really hurts his forward group. It's not as bad as Rantanen on Colorado, because he's not even on their first line. But then your option to move up onto the second line, Milan Lucic, Sam Bennett, you definitely don't want either of those guys in your top six. So now moving to the forwards on San Jose, Timo Meier, Logan Couture, Kevin LeBlanc. Then you got Evander Kane, Tomas Hertl, and Cholowski. That's a very good top six. And there's no one you have to worry about signing there. So right now, that's your top six, and they're ready for the season. But it is a weaker top six since they don't have Pavelski anymore. Pavelski was unbelievable in his time in San Jose, and it's a shame that it had to end. But with bringing in guys like Erik Karlsson to big contracts, it's understandable why they had to get rid of him. Your bottom six, you got Chekovich, Thornton, and Melker Karlsson. And then you got Sorensen, Gambrell, and Brodzinski. It's a good bottom six. I have here Gaudreau listed on the side. Daily Faceoff didn't have Gaudreau in the lineup, but I think that he will get a spot, whether it's fourth line center, wing, whatever. Joe Thornton as your third line center, that's really good. That really shows how they have one of the best forward groups in the Pacific Division. Going on to Vegas, I think that this is a really good forward group too. You got Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson, and Mark Stone as your top line. Having Mark Stone for a full season completely changes this team. They barely made the playoffs last year. But adding a guy like Mark Stone, that could be the difference between third in a division and first in a division with how tight this division is. Then you got Max Pacioretty, Paul Stastny, and Alex Tuch. I'm a huge fan of Tuch. I've liked him for a while, and I think that he'll continue doing really well this season, continue his development. And overall, that top six is really good. It's not a star-studded top six, except for Mark Stone. But, you can argue that that's first line A, first line B for them. Because there's so much talent on both, either one could be a first line. Your third line, you got Brandon Pirri, Cody Eakin, and Riley Smith. Riley Smith on the third line, that's really good. He was on their top line when they went to the Stanley Cup final. And yes, he hasn't been as good as he was that season, but he's still a very good player. Brandon Pirri, we'll see if he can continue what he did last year. He was originally in the minors, and then injuries, he got called up and was unbelievable. The coach and him seem to have a little iffy relationship, but if he gets good enough ice time and can continue what he's done, does he push Pacioretty? Like, this is a really deep forward group. And then your fourth line, you got Nosek, Glass, and Reeves. The only question mark there is Cody Glass. He's a very highly rated prospect, and he could very well push Eakin to be on the fourth line. I'm not a fan of Eakin myself. I have bad history with him, mainly when he hit Lundqvist. So take whatever I say about Eakin with a grain of salt. But this forward group is deep. The top six isn't more so the top line isn't as star-studded as a Gaudreau, Monahan, Lindholm, or a Meyer, Couture, LeBlanc. But it's really good still. And then the last team for forwards, Arizona, you got Dvorak, Stepan, and Kessel, which this is probably one of the weaker forward groups. But from what I've seen with him from New York and now in Arizona, Derek Stepan can play on the top line. He's not going to put up points like a normal top line forward will, but he's solid as a two-way forward, which that makes up for him not putting up points. But he also doesn't get quite the amount of respect that most forwards will that are just as good as him if they're just as good at forward, at like scoring goals, getting points, as he is at defense. And adding Phil Kessel really helps this forward group. They were missing a star player. Clayton Keller looked like that he can be that, but he's not ready for that yet. And definitely takes a lot of weight off this young kid's shoulders, which I think will really end up helping this team. Speaking of Keller, your second line, you got Keller, Schmaltz, and Hinostroza. Solid second line. Yet again, nothing amazing. Yet again, they got very good two-way forwards. They're not going to score a ton of goals. Phil Kessel will absolutely need to carry the offense. But defensively, it's the offense and the defense. So, it's really good. Then your third line is expected to be Hayton into his rookie season, Soderberg, who they just traded for from Colorado, and Garland. So I think Michael Grabner will jump into that third line, probably instead of Garland. And I can't see them having Hayton in the lineup if he's going to be any lower than third line, because they want to get him prime ice time wherever he plays. So it's a very good third line. I'm a big fan of Soderberg. And I think that third line is a really good third line. Like, yet again, there's not much goal scoring or anything there, but it's good. Then your fourth line, you got Cruz, Richardson, and Grabner. Michael Grabner is underrated, in my opinion. I remember when he played for the Rangers, about every season, the first 20 games, I want to say, he was in the running for the Rocket Richard. And that's him being on the third line. Yes, he had great chemistry with JT Miller and Kevin Hayes, who that was the line that he played with. But still, he can score goals. He's fast. And on the penalty kill, he's probably one of the best penalty killers in the NHL. Leading, if not close to leading the NHL in shorthanded goals. So, that's really good. So, if I were to rank the forward groups for the division, I would probably say that based on everything that I said, including Tkachuk being an RFA, I would have to give Vegas the best forward group based on depth and top-end talent. Probably give second to San Jose, third to Calgary, and fourth to Arizona. But this is of how offensive they are. If you want to include defensive, Arizona can move up. And if Tkachuk signs, I'd probably have Calgary ahead of San Jose. But as it stands now, Vegas is in first, San Jose is in second, Calgary's in third, and Arizona's in fourth. Then we get to the defense. So on Calgary, you have Giordano and Brody, who last year was arguably the best defensive duo in the NHL, especially with Giordano winning the Norris Trophy. I don't think that he can quite repeat that, but he's still be able to do very well this season. Got Noah Hanifin and Travis Hamonic. Yet again, a very good duo. Hanifin, you can argue, should be on a first pairing on most teams. And you got Valimaki and Anderson on your bottom pair. Very good bottom pair. And no complaints there, but I don't say either of them should be top four. You go to San Jose, who everyone says has the best defense in the NHL, with Marc-Edouard Vlasic, one of the best defensive defensemen, Brent Burns, and that's my top pairing. And Burns is arguably the best offensive defenseman, and if not him, Erik Karlsson, who's on that team too. So that's a great top pair. And then you got Dylan with Karlsson on the second pair. Maybe Dylan's a little weak there, but Erik Karlsson's obviously going to make up for him. And then you got Simek and Middleton on the bottom pair. And that's a solid bottom pair. My only problem with this, outside of Marc-Edouard Vlasic, where's your defensive defenseman? I've seen many times with Erik Karlsson where he would, especially in the playoffs, notably against the Blues, he would be defending a rush, and the player would just hit the puck around Erik Karlsson, get it, and now they're on a breakaway. Karlsson has injury problems, and ever since the playoffs where they knocked out the New York Rangers and then lost to the Pittsburgh Penguins in 7 games, he hasn't seemed like the same player at any point. He's shown flashes of it, but it's not there anymore. Everyone says he's still a top 3, top 4 defenseman in the NHL. I barely have him in my top 15. And then you go to Vegas, and then they have McNabb with Schmidt. Shouldn't be a top 2. That should be your second pairing on most teams. But what you'll notice about their defense with the whole top 6 is they don't have, oh, that guy's the top pairing guy. You can argue Nate Schmidt, but that's about it. But you can also argue their bottom 2 should be top 4, which is why they do so well. Their second pairing of Merrill and Theodore, it's very good. I mean, it's a second pairing, and it's not star-studded again, but it's good. And then Schultz and Englund, like I said, you can argue that to be a second pair. So, yet again, not star-studded, but good. It's not a defensive pair. It's not a defense group that I would want if I want to win the Stanley Cup. And that's the problem, though. You want to win the Stanley Cup, you need a star defenseman. Here you got Giordano. Here you got Burns and Karlsson. And here you got Ekman-Larsson. Where is your guy like that in Vegas? It's not there. Now, Arizona, your defense, like I mentioned, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, very good defenseman. Definitely top 20. And you got Demers, not a top 2, but top 4. You got Chychrun and Hjalmarsson, both very good top 4 guys. You got Goligoski and Osterley. Solid bottom pair. You can argue maybe Goligoski could be a number 4 guy, but overall, it's just solid. There's no complaints about there. Maybe they need another top 2 guy, but really that's about it. So if I were to rank their defenses, I would have, based on player talent alone, not how well can they defend, I would give San Jose the best, Calgary second, Arizona third, and Vegas in fourth. So, yet again, no. Giordano, Brody, that pairing's probably going to take a step back, but overall that's a really good pair, top 6. the defensive end of the defensemen worry me in San Jose, but if you judge it based on the players there, it's definitely the best, and still the best in the NHL. Maybe Tampa, because I'm a huge fan of McDonough. I think he's better than Carlson overall, but overall, yeah. And then you get to goaltending. And this is where a lot of these teams will fall short. So, on Calgary, Rittich and Talbot. It's not a tandem you can trust. I have high hopes for Talbot to have a bounce back year this year, but they're definitely going to run with Rittich to start the season as their starter. And last year was very inconsistent. Mike Smith won the starting job back by the time the playoffs came. And I don't trust Rittich to be the starter. And if Talbot doesn't bounce back, this team's in trouble of falling out of the playoffs. Then you go to San Jose. You got Jones and Dell. Martin Jones had a miserable year last year. Really did. And, well, you could argue it's a bad year, he'll bounce back. He's not going to bounce back to like what he did in the playoffs. What he did in the playoffs, he was good, not great. But I don't see him as that high-end starter that you want going into a season. And Vegas got Marc-Andre Fleury and Malcolm Subban. Subban, yet again, an RFA. If he's not signed, it's Garrett Sparks. You're not going to not make the playoffs because your backup goalie's not good enough, and Sparks is serviceable if they need him to play for any period of time. Marc-Andre Fleury is a very good goalie. Age, I think, is starting to catch up with him a bit. His first season in Vegas was amazing. Definitely took a step back this year. I could see him taking another step back. Subban, solid. No complaints there. And Arizona, Raanta and Kemper. Of all these starting goalies, I think Ranta's the best of them. And of every backup goalie in the entire NHL, I think Kemper's the best. So, like, Ranta's problem is, can he stay healthy? If Raanta stays healthy, I don't see how Arizona misses the playoffs with their defense by committee, and if Kessel can bring up their scoring, I don't see how Arizona misses the playoffs. So I'm going to rank the goaltending now, which, obviously, like I said, Arizona's in first. Vegas is an obvious second. And based on last year and the history of them, I'd probably give my third place to Calgary and my last place to San Jose when it comes to goaltending. So, overall, Calgary, third best forwards, second best defense, third best goaltending. San Jose, second best forwards, best defense, worst goaltending. In Vegas, you have the best forwards, the worst defense, second best goaltending. In Arizona, you have the worst forwards, the third best defense, and the best goaltending. So now, after going over all that, where do I think that they'll finish in the division? Well, I think that the forwards and the defense will really help Vegas, and they'll end up first in the division. Their defense is... No, I meant the goaltending. Their defense isn't good enough to give them that first in the division. But adding Mark Stone, who's a solid two-way, he can make up for them lacking that star defenseman. I have Calgary finishing in second, and it's very dependent on the Chuck signing and Talbot having a bounce-back year. I could very well see them falling to third, or if Talbot doesn't bounce back and the Chuck doesn't sign, I could see them not even making the playoffs. Third in the division, I would have to say Arizona. Because, like I said before, their forward group is unspectacular except for Phil Kessel. Their defense is solid. It's not amazing. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is really good, though. The goaltending, though, if Ronta's healthy, they're easily a playoff team. And if he's not, Kemper proved last year that he can bring them to the playoffs too. He did so well and came, I think it was 4th or 5th in Vezina voting. For a team that missed the playoffs, that's extremely rare for someone to come that close. Which means I have 4th in the division being the San Jose Sharks. Even though they did just sign Joe Thornton, and that really helps them, I think that they're going to struggle to keep pucks out of their own net. Jones I don't trust, and I don't trust their defense to stop all the shots coming for him. So, here are the lines where I think they'll finish in the rankings for forwards, defense, and goaltending. Overall, though, Vegas first, Calgary second, Arizona third, San Jose fourth. And that does mean that I have San Jose missing the playoffs. And I think that they need to look at this roster and realize, yes, they can add a few more pieces, and they could absolutely push to make the playoffs. Calgary, Vegas, Arizona, everyone's vulnerable in that division to fall out and miss the playoffs. Or they can look at their roster and say, we have some older pieces that are still really good that we can get a lot of trade value for, and we can retool and be ready to not be good now, but be amazing in a few years. And that's why I think smart for San Jose. Arizona's on the upswing. They're getting ready to be contenders. Barrett Hayton, if he can become really good soon, 3 years, they're contenders. Calgary, they just need goaltending. If Calgary gets a solid goalie that is reliable, which I think Talbot could prove this year, they're contenders. And Vegas needs a star defenseman. I can't see any of these teams winning the cup with their current rosters, though. So, I'm interested to hear what you have to say. Leave your comments below, like and subscribe. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.